All right, welcome back to the 28 to 3 podcast. We had some video recording issues, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see a blank screen for probably the next 12 minutes. Nick was cooking those, so we didn't want to ditch the recording at least. So feast your ears on Nick's lovely breakdown for the next 12 minutes, and after that, it's going to pick back up with video. So just a heads up. Thanks.
Press record.
Yeah.
Just to make it 28 to 3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in. What a comeback.
All right, welcome to another episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. Today we are licking our wounds after that brutal showing in the Superdome.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I don't think terrible is strong enough of a word.
I'm at the point where I don't even feel like I have the right amount of energy to even give it words. I'm like, y'all screwed this up so bad. You know, it's like last year we went through enough of just angst and frustration with, you know, going through points where our defense is good, but our offense can't get it together. Or then, well, now the defense they were good most of the game in stats, but they let too many drives happen when they weren't supposed to happen. We're at a point now where it's like, holy shit, you know, missed tackles. I don't even think, you know, DA keeps talking about tackles and tackling was atrocious. We were out of position half the time. They weren't even if they were the best tacklers, there were points where Tucker or I blocked it out of my head so much. The Bucky Irving were like 7 yards down the field before anybody could even possibly touch them. All of it was terrible, especially on the defensive side. Look, we saw flashes on the offense, but there's just so much in this one to where I never want to say I'm truly just throwing my hands up with this team, but if I feel more that way after this game than I did after the Chiefs game.
Well, there's blood on the offense's hand as well.
No, that's what I mean.
They were equally bad. They didn't really do anything other than the second quarter. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
they kept putting the defense back out on the field. You know, whether it's drop passes, fumbles, whatever. They kept putting the defense back on the field. And we talked about it. The defense is old. You can't keep putting these guys back on the field.
The defense allowed almost 600 yards.
But think about it, though. There was a point, I want to say there was about 11 minutes left in the game where we were only down by 7.
Correct. You can say they gave up 600 yards. They absolutely did. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But let's be real about how that looked. We came out in the second half. We had 6 straight drives of 3 and out. Okay? So that was not the case at the end of the first half. We had the lead.
Well, what did that do for us?
You just left the defense on
put it back on the field.
So it's the offense's fault the defense gave up almost 600
It's a total team effort that we got our asses
kicked. If you think that defense, as thin as it is, we had no safeties, right? Warner's out. We're on a backup linebacker. They're old almost across the entire defense. Mm-hmm. If you don't think that leaving them on the field for a full quarter and a half with no break whatsoever, that's not going to happen at the end. It was 160 yards in the fourth quarter rushing, okay? So did they give up? 100%. Is it acceptable? Absolutely not. Did they play well before that? No. But the 600 yards is a definite byproduct of what happened in the last quarter when they couldn't even move. The holes were you and I could have run through, Corey. No problem. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying they didn't play. They played well. I'm saying they played very poorly, but when you go 3 and out to open a half, every drive into the middle of the fourth quarter, the only 2 drives we weren't 3 plays or less were the last 2 drives where we were down huge. It was over. And it's because they just dropped back in the prevent. We could not get a first down. So, you know, you have to at least give a little context to that about how bad the offense was in the second half. And this is not an indictment of Rattler or anything. This is an offense as a whole. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't block up the middle again. I said to y'all at halftime, Vita Vea wasn't dominating. Well, guess what he did in the third quarter? He just took over the game, and he went straight through everybody. He disrupted. A couple of the sacks I probably put on Rattler where he did have time to throw, and he didn't. But, you know, to his credit in those cases, he didn't throw a pick. He didn't do something really stupid. He took the sack, held it a little too long. When he had to press or had to make a play, he couldn't. right? That's when the picks came, is when he knew he had to – this game was down to the fourth quarter, and he had to make a play, and he pushed it, and he threw 2 really bad picks. They're both clearly on him, had time. The underthrow was a really bad throw to begin with. Andy underthrew it quite a bit. Yeah. And then the sideline throw was just a bad decision. But I wanted to start, and then y'all can bounce off me with this. When sure. Obviously I wasn't here for the preview pod, so I had sent Max my picks. And I listened to what you guys said, and I was shocked how optimistic it was for the
Saints
offense.
Fandom, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like we're all very similar in our outlook for a bunch of things. One, Rattler. One, how injured the offense is. And then y'all, way more than me, are Tampa believers more than I am. So I was shocked to hear y'all pick the Saints. So the Rattler part of it, I think this was a bad situation for Rattler. I don't think this says anything about his future whatsoever. Agreed. Absolutely nothing. Coming in week 5, 5th-round pick, he's still a 5th-round pick. So, I think Corey said 3 touchdowns. I was like, well, okay, well, we're going for it.
I switched to 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns. Max didn't pick him as MVP, but I was honestly just surprised y'all picked the Saints. But either way, I think we all both, I included, thought it would be a close game to the end. I thought we would hang in there. The defense did not do its part. Max brought up he thought the defense would rise up and get maybe a special teams.
Yeah.
Right. All the things I agreed with that. The only way we were going to win is that sort of situation. I think the Rattler thing played out exactly how I thought it would, which is you saw some really nice things that you're like, okay, it's there. He just needs to be able to reproduce it on a big scale. And then he couldn't reproduce it on a big scale. 22 for 40 is a poor performance overall. 2 picks. He took 5 sacks. I think it's probably, if we're going to critique our quarterbacks the same, which isn't fair to Rattler to do that. Carr's a 10-year vet and 11-year vet. And Rattler's in his first start as a 5th-round pick in the 6th game of the season. Not the same thing. But if we're going to judge them based strictly on the quarterback performance, it's probably the worst performance since Carr got here, if we're being honest. How many 2-pick games does Carr have as a Saint?
Have to look that up.
It's like 1 or 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why he's asking you.
Yeah. What's your guess? Just based on like how we view Carr and how we.
I'm going to say 2.
Yeah. I was going to go max 2 or 3 at the most.
0. So
he's got
has 0 2-pick games as a Saint.
Wow.
Okay. So we like to criticize him, and some of it's very deserved. But you also have to understand he has, for the most part, been very protective of the ball for us. Haven't given games away. A couple pick sixes, you can say, really put us behind the 8 ball, but that was the only big mistake in those games. So if we're just critiquing it 1-to-1, this is why I think all 3 of us said, ideally, you leave Carr in there, you let this kid learn because he's got such talent, arm talent. He showed it to you in this game.
Oh, yeah.
There were throws that are just, they're NFL throws.
Throws and plays that Carr's not making.
100%. The scrambling, you see that ability, getting out of the pocket, getting all the way to the sideline and throwing that ball right there in the end, 3rd down. You saw plays where you're like, okay, this guy's got different ways to beat you.
There was also, I thought, y'all correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I didn't think there was any panic in his play.
No.
If anything, there wasn't enough panic. If you could find a happy medium between whatever panic Carr showed versus the Chiefs, because there were times where Carr panicked when he really shouldn't have and threw the ball early. But there were times in this game.
There was one throw. There was the one where he was pressured up the middle, and he tried to get it out, and his arm got hit, and it was about a foot from being – it fluttered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You juxtapose Carr when he thought there was pressure because there had been pressure all game, and he made a couple throws where it's like, you actually had another second there. Don't blame you for thinking you didn't, but you actually had another second. Whereas Rattler held it longer, being like, I'm a tough guy. I'm going to stand in, make these throws. And look, kudos to him for doing that. That's a tough-ass job.
Yeah.
So it's like a happy medium between that, But
yeah. So just to wrap up the Rattler piece, and we'll talk about some other things, I think you can't have any decision one way or the other. The super fans who are out there who thinks he's the next Mahomes, this shows you chill out. let the kid develop. Because seeing that, I've had people tell me he plays like Mahomes. They're like, that's just disrespectful to Mahomes, okay?
Right.
It's not, and it's not fair to Rattler. So, but you saw a lot of things to like, and then you saw a rookie in the second half, for sure in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
He played rookie quarterback. The other thing that I think we need to chill out and let this kid just develop and stop putting so much on him. I looked up today how many quarterbacks in the league are starting that were drafted in the 5th round or later, that are starters for their current team.
Geno Smith, was he one of them? Was he a high pick?
Yeah.
He was a second or a third.
I think he was
second.
Second, because he was projected first. I think he fell. I didn't look that up, but
I'm going through the. Wouldn't.
Just give us the answer.
Where was Kirk Cousins drafted?
Fourth.
Okay, so he's close. I don't know.
One, Brock Purdy. Only one in the league.
I should have known that one, at least the one of them, yeah.
How many do you think are first rounders?
Half.
25.
25 starters are first rounders?
Yeah. God damn.
That seems like a higher hit rate than what we've
well,
highlighted.
but they're not all
They're
good.
not top 5.
They're not all good.
No, they're not all good.
But they're all first rounders.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence is on that list, and he is not
Right.
good. And
I
this
mean-
guy to my right will tell you.
He's terrible.
Nick loves to hate watch some Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
I do. I just, too many people thought that dude was going to be good.
Okay, so 25 out of 32 were first round
I think
picks.
that's right. I'm wondering if I had Geno's a second round pick. It's 24 or 25. I can't remember what Geno is a first.
Carr
or
was a
second
second round pick.
Carr was second rounder. Hurts, Dak, Cousins, Carr, Geno. That's it, I think.
Jesus. That's
Oh
kinda
no,
crazy.
Will Levis, right?
Yeah, he was second round.
And O'Connell now. That's it. That's the whole number. I left off the AFC.
Damn.
So that's 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So 8, 24. 24 first round picks. And 1 5th or later. 5th, 6th, or 7th, only 1. Brock Purdy, who went into the best situation a quarterback's ever gone into as far as
surrounding cast and all of that,
And
coaching and everything.
he's done well with it, but yes.
So let this dude get his feet under him, and we'll see what he can do. But I think that's why all three of us really would have preferred to let him get all the mental side of the game, see how it's done.
Well, hold on. 2 of us wanted him to sit. Somebody to my left wanted him to play.
This year?
Before injury
No.
or after injury?
I never said
After injury.
Yeah.
After injury, I still didn't want him in.
I didn't either, but I mean, I get it. If you still think you're going to win, because my thoughts on Haener, I don't think this looks any different with Haener this week.
Right. And no, you just said it right there. If you still think you can win.
Right.
So depending on what happens Thursday night with
Right.
the Broncos, if the season is lost, leave him in at that point. I'm fine with him playing at that point because you got to see what you got.
I would say, yeah, you could.
If the season is,
I hear that, but I would hate to see him get David Card for a whole season if our offensive line is injured.
Yeah,
Why not
but-
just make sure Haener's not a roster person?
I have some.
he's a roster
I have some
person.
thoughts on that, but
well, McCoy and Ruiz should be back.
If they're back, I'm all for it.
Ruiz should be back any moment. I would hope after the 10-day break after the Broncos game that we'll see him back. McCoy, I think they said early, probably like the first week in November.
Okay. So I would say if the offensive line is healthy and we know
We're out. Play
absolutely play Rattler.
Yeah.
Let's give him 8 games, 10 games of starting to see. Let's see what he's got.
That's a good plan. I think if the offensive line gets somewhat reasonable health again, which they should by November, at that point, I'm fine playing Rattler.
Corey, thoughts?
Good God.
I was checking our stuff since we already announced that we were having some issues, but we're back. No,
Agree or disagree?
So before the game, I was thinking, look, whatever Rattler does, good or bad, bring Carr back when he's healthy. There's some traditional thought of the quarterback shouldn't lose his job due to injury. I don't know if I'm 100% on board with that because the Patriots clearly made the right decision by keeping Tom Brady in instead of Drew Bledsoe en route to their Super Bowls. I'm not saying that that's what we have here, but that as a general concept isn't the reason. I just think that before the game, I was thinking y'all are right. I agreed with y'all. Let's let him continue to learn. Carr, is he an MVP? Is he like Rodgers learning from Favre? Is he like another backup learning from another MVP type guy? No. But then again, like Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith, and it worked out pretty well for him. However,
it's a 10-year starter at the end of the day. He can certainly show him some things.
Yeah. The only thought, though, I have after watching the game is I kept thinking, how would Derek Carr have looked in this game? Granted, we have our obvious issues between guard and center with the offensive line. So I even said it in the preview pod, I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes would hold up, given our current offensive line issues. But, the things that Rattler did, his mistakes in this game were obvious rookie mistakes, and it almost makes me wonder. I think, gun to my head right now, I think I'd rather him learn from those mistakes now this year, like have the experience of going through them in a year where for all intents and purposes you're looking pretty, especially if you lose next week, you're looking at it pretty far out of the playoff picture. So
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Right.
So
I'll put it this way:
kind of dialing in the season.
Right.
I think if the season is dialed in, as in you don't think you got a shot, which I don't, the coaches are never going to admit to. There's more reason to play him because you may as well let him learn from the mistakes. I don't think this offense is set up to let him get David Carr because it's not quite as much of a just stand back there like a statue every play and just throw it to where he can. He took some of the sacks he took. He's going to watch the film and realize that he could have maybe rolled out sooner.
Right.
He
That's
could
what we
have threw
hope.
it somewhere else. I think sitting, yes, you learn. Yes, it preserves his body physically. There's a lot less risk of him getting blown up, taking a terrible injury with like the offensive line in front of him. But seeing his reaction to some of those interceptions, I think he kind of knew he made a couple of like rookie throws. He was timid with the throws. Like the first interception, Shaheed had the guy beat, and the ball was kind of floating from Spencer, which you knew if that ball's not on a line, he's taking something off of it. Mm-hmm. So it was almost like he was timid trying to take some off of it. Same thing with the out route that got cut off. It's like if he just would have put it on a line, it would have been different. So I kind of want to see him learn from the mistakes in game after watching this game. Does that mean I don't ever want to see Derek Carr again this year? No.
Right. What I think you said, you just said rookie mistakes. So do I think this game would have looked different with Derek Carr? I absolutely do. I think even though the offense hasn't been great the last few weeks against far better interior lines, the game was held together and managed better than this game was. I don't think there's a debate there. But if we're out, I'm 100% on board with that. Why Derek Carr's here to win now. Derek Carr's going to be 34 years old. If we're out of the playoff picture, if we are 2-6, then why not? Because we need to, even if Carr comes back next year and plays, like we need to start to see what we have to work with down the road. Because if playoffs are out, there's no benefit to really winning. I hate to say it. I want us to go out there and try and win every game. I'm a fan. Regardless, even if I want us to go beat the Falcons later in the season, even if we have no chance in the playoffs. That's just me. I'm always going to want to win. But why not get some sort of assessment of him if we're out? If we are still in the mix, and I mean in the mix until you are eliminated, that's always been my stance. If there's any path, look at last year. Everyone thought we were done. We almost weren't done. We were a tiebreaker away from making it.
We had a winning record last year.
We had a winning record. But mid-season, we had that horrible stretch in the middle of the season. We're like, we're done. So what do we do from here? But we came all the way back, and we were a play or two away from being in the playoffs. So I think you push it to that limit. If we come out and we lose the next division game and it's done, I'm all for putting Rattler in there. But I do think this game would have looked different. It wouldn't have got out of hand in the fourth quarter like that. We may have still lost this game. I'm not saying Carr is such a massive difference maker that he would have won that game, but I don't think that fourth quarter looks like that if Carr's in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that because in the third and the fourth quarter, they were teeing off. Mm-hmm. Like they said, you know what? We saw in the first half that you guys are going to do designed rollouts. He's going to get outside the pocket, and he's going to make some great throws.
Yeah.
So at that point, they said, fuck it, we're taking that away.
Yeah.
They didn't respect the running game at all.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the linebackers are teeing off. Everyone's coming off of an edge.
They took his physical ability out and made it about his mental and his processing.
Yeah. Exactly. And he's a rookie. He's simply not ready to process that yet. He's just not. But to your point, that's going to come with experience.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree with Nick that if we do have a chance at making the playoffs, and we've said this before, the NFC is so damn weak. Mm-hmm. Well, we say that, and the whole NFC North is, I think they have winning records. But anyway, the NFC, any team can get hot when you get to the playoffs. Like, I don't think anyone's unbeatable.
Yeah.
If we could just get to the playoffs,
the way it looks,
reasonably healthy, you could see a repeat of weeks 1 and 2
Yeah.
if we could get healthy.
We need everybody back.
If you're making the determination of who should be your guy, like let's just say they're both healthy today, and you're saying who's going to take us in from here? Is it Carr or Rattler? You have to look at the whole body of work, and the reality is, look, that second quarter from Rattler when he was on, he was looking really good. His throws were a lot different than throws that Derek Carr could make or ever even try to make. But that said, like, that sample size is not it's just not enough to sit there and say that that's enough to say we're going to go with him over Carr taking us in and trying to be competitive at the same time. It just, while Carr has had some pretty bad showing, like, I mean, last week was not a good showing from Carr. I kind of question whether or not what differently would Derek Carr have done against the Bucs than Spencer Rattler did against them in quarters 3 and 4.
I just don't see. I don't see the Bucs blitzing him every single play.
Why not?
Because he's going to know some of the reads to make from the experience he has.
Okay,
not saying he's going to chuck it out of bounds quickly sometimes too.
Your take, and I'm just trying to shake it out here. Is that you think if Carr's in there and he sees the same blitzes, he will better than Rattler get the ball out?
I think that.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
So that's
only experience,
right? And that's the consideration you have to use going forward. Like, no team is ever going to say we want to make the playoffs, so we are going to take a chance on this kid versus like the proven thing. We're not saying the guy we have, the 11-year starter, is. We're not saying he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. He might be 15th, but he's an 11-year quarterback. Right. The team that wants to make the playoffs, just make the playoffs, is going to say we're going to go with the guy with 11 years of experience versus saying we want to take a chance on the rookie because he looked really good in that one quarter.
Right.
And he could look that good, but you don't know. Your better chance from jump is going with Carr.
Let's also remember there were 3 Baker Mayfield interceptions in that second quarter that set us up with good field position. Yeah. And the Bucs completely imploded in the second quarter. Like, I was looking at the game. I'm like, everything that I predicted that needed to happen for us to have a chance was happening. We had a special teams punt return for a touchdown. Yeah. We had 3 interceptions. All of this in the second quarter. Yeah. We had the lead, a 3-point lead going into half. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I feel really good about it at this point. I said, can he hold it together in the second half?
Right.
And the reality was, because we knew they were going to tee off on him, and they did. And
other than the Olave fumble situation, he was given a perfect game to succeed. Okay, 2 turnovers inside their 30, where he got the ball. Well, to his credit, he got 10 points.
Other than Olave and the offensive line injuries.
Well, yeah, you can. I'm just saying,
the game situation.
He didn't perform great, and we were winning at halftime. He was playing okay.
Yeah.
Right? He hadn't driven the ball up and down the field.
For a rookie debut, you really can't ask for much more.
Right. And I'm not. This is not a knock on him.
We set him up in that second quarter very well.
Yeah.
So he comes out at halftime up, right, without having. He did not play poorly, but he wasn't lighting up the score. He had 2 drives. He had a 50-something yard field goal drive, and he had the 70-yard beautiful touchdown drive.
Yeah.
That's all he had the whole game.
Right.
The special teams gave him a touchdown. The defense gave him the ball twice inside their 30, gave him the ball again at the 40 on the Cam interception on our own 40, which we punted.
Yeah.
Yes, they fell apart in the fourth quarter, but that was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. That game was there to be won despite the final score. And I know it doesn't excuse.
I thought it was a 2-score game in the fourth quarter.
No, it was a 1-score game when he threw the interception.
Yes.
Okay.
He threw the interception, and I remember being like, that one's gonna hurt.
Because we're like, the defense has to stand right here. I think maybe you, Corey, even text something about it, but let's see.
And wasn't that followed up by the Godwin miracle run where Alante bounced off of him like a pinball, and all of a sudden
by the time we got to the fourth quarter, the interception
it was a 7-point game. And then they just went bonkers.
34-27.
34-27.
Yeah.
And it was only about 12 minutes left. Yeah. But I remember thinking, I'm like, man, me and Corey are looking good right now.
Yeah.
Because everything that needed to happen has happened.
Yeah.
And
So, Corey,
Rattler has played
They
well.
scored 20 in the fourth quarter. So it was a 4-point game going in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
So that game was there.
That game
still
was
to be
there.
had.
Yeah.
And we had the ball. We had the ball down 4.
Yeah.
And he threw
And
the
then
pick. And
threw
then
the
that's
pick,
and then it
that
just
was
snowball.
yeah.
That's
And
when-
it's
well, that's
look.
when-
Let me say this because I
That's
haven't.
when I'll
had it-
stand by the defense. Let us.
I haven't. They did, but the catalyst for
I don't think there's a but. We've already.
there is a but because they got raped in the fourth quarter.
I'm just going to say if you
They got
if,
raped.
But they kept
if
it.
you have a 3-point game
Because-
at halftime and you score 0 in the second half, you're not winning. It doesn't even matter what the defense really did.
Yeah. But let me say this.
You're not winning that game.
If
Let
we
me- hold
scored
on. Let me say this.
18, we wouldn't have won because they scored 20.
I disagree.
in one quarter.
I disagree completely. Because we didn't do anything with the ball.
The defense was trash.
They were
in the fourth
trash.
quarter.
The
But
defense also had 3 interceptions in the second quarter, and then we had a special teams touchdown, which is what single-handedly got us back into that game because we were down 17-0. If Baker throws that touchdown to make it 21-0 instead of having to settle for the field goal,
Yeah, if he doesn't miss
because
that throw.
if he doesn't miss that, because they imploded from that moment when he missed the touchdown pass all the way till the second half. They were awful,
And he went on like a
Sterling
1
Shepard-
for 9 with
Yeah.
2 picks.
and they were awful passes.
Yeah.
Like he turned into
Well, that's what I'm
he turned
saying,
into
like-
Nathan Peterman, and then Sterling Shepard. I don't know what the hell that dude was doing. He had 2 personal foul penalties in the
Yeah.
second quarter, and he had another penalty. It's like, what the hell were they doing?
Yeah.
But let me say this about Rattler. Because I don't want to make it look like we're shitting on Rattler. I thought Rattler did well. All things considered, he showed everything that we know he has. Like we know he's a top 10, probably a top 5 arm talent guy in the NFL right now. You know he has that physical ability. We watched him show it. He's rolling out, and these passes look like they're shot out of a jugs machine every time, hitting people right in the hands. All he needs to go through practices for a whole season. He needs to get game time. He needs to see these things that are going to get thrown at him because this isn't college anymore.
Right.
You know, that pass that he got intercepted on first, that's probably a completion in college because the DB is probably 5 yards trailer. Yeah, so that's probably a touchdown.
I would say he's got to get better at not giving away the easy stuff.
Yeah.
He misses a lot of short throws in that game.
A lot of those sacks were on him, man.
And he throws the ball on the ground a little bit. But like the easy one, the harder throws, he's throwing bullets.
Bullets,
Right.
yeah.
And then he misses a couple easy ones that could get you 6 yards, 8 yards that he throws a little low or behind him.
There was one. There were
missed
two.
some reads,
There were
too.
two
Holker.
to Kamara, but one.
Holker was bad
One
one.
was definitely behind Kamara. The other one Kamara dropped.
There were
I know-
2 that Kamara flat out dropped. So
Well,
he did have 3 flat out drops that
Yeah.
counted
One
against
of
him.
them- one of them he
was
darted.
a cannon shot.
But you got to catch that. You're an NFL. Like you
gotta
AK
catch it. You
AK
gotta
usually
catch
catches it, but that's not a great throw if we're being honest.
it's a perfectly.
But he
fine
needs to
throw.
catch it.
It's
He
not
needs
a
to catch
bad throw. I mean, like the guy was opening the check down. He threw
Again,
it on the
if,
line.
there
if
were
Carr
3
throws that ball, I think the opposite thing is being said. right
Well,
now.
there's
I
also
wouldn't
the
have said-
hospital, the quote unquote hospital ball,
Oh,
which I hate
Jesus.
that term because it's the NFL. Yeah, you're going to get hit, but Carr would have gotten so much shit.
I text y'all that. That would have been viewed differently if
That
Carr
would have been
threw that
viewed
ball.
differently if Carr
and
throws it.
to be clear, Rattler did nothing wrong. Great throw.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Great throw, nothing wrong with it at all.
Right.
I just
But
think the narrative would have been
the
different.
narrative is completely different.
He
if
throws
it's
a
him.
ball a yard behind Michael Thomas, and he got Michael Thomas injured in the socials.
Yeah,
Which is crazy. A ball behind a receiver is getting him injured.
There were definitely a lot more tweets saying XYZ was not Rattler's fault. When
of course.
I've never
100%.
seen anybody tweet.
this is why I stayed off.
that
of
was
Tw-
not Carr's fault. I've never seen a
Correct.
This
tweet
is
that
why I
says-
stayed
Correct.
off
That
of
was not-
Twitter.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is why I
Rattler,
stayed off of Twitter the entire game because I have no
perfect
patience
throw
for
by
that.
Rattler. Perfect throw.
And look,
Unlucky
Look
a little
up,
bit.
and I'm not-
look up how many times Carr's
Yeah.
been sacked this year. I think
It was
I
five.
saw that it's
It was
5.
5 going into the game.
Right.
That tells you
Yeah.
something.
That's
right
the
there.
veteran.
So it's
because
like-
the line has sucked
And look,
for 3 games.
Everybody's got their football takes, so I'm not like, saying, oh, if you never tweeted that wasn't Carr's fault, then there's a problem with you as a fan. Like, you have your own takes.
No, it just
whatever.
shows they're viewed
But
differently.
It's funny, is what it is. It's just like you got to be able to step back from whatever your personal view is on this team, and when all the kerfuffle's happening on Saints Twitter or Saints News, or if you're a message board guy, whatever it is, just like be able to see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I think the reality is we should all be encouraged
Yeah.
by what we saw from Rattler. We can say that while at the same time saying he's probably not ready to take this team anywhere at this
There's
point.
nothing wrong, if you're someone who has the take that what I saw out of Rattler for that one quarter for his good plays, that's enough hard potential for me to where I as a football person, if I was the coach, I'm putting him in based on pure potential alone. Cool. Your opinion, go with it.
Let's bring up
but
an
I
old-
don't. But I also don't think it's so crazy for people to also see that potential that he had in that game, which was great. It was great potential. It's also not wrong for someone to say, yeah, but your quarterback's still Derek Carr. Like he is still your quarterback, and if he becomes healthy, if you win against the Broncos or you lose to them, win the next game, and then he gets healthy, you put him back in. You know.
So is your stance still the same? We end up with the 4th pick.
Yes. This is where I was going to go.
You're going a different
No.
direction. at quarterback.
Go. No. If we end up with we end up with the first pick.
Okay, first pick. You
Because
said,
we're in shot of it right now.
If we end up with the first pick, I'm finding
is
out where the best offensive lineman is slated to be drafted, and I'm trading out
Will
of
Campbell.
it, getting picks, and taking him.
You are. So you're still on the fence. Like, okay, I'm gonna use Rattler as my. I'm just asking because I'm not saying we saw anything to change your mind. I'm just saying.
Even if we're in a position where we're saying we're having to build up anything at all, it's pretty clear we're going to have to start from the interior if we're building this team. You're not going to get.
But you have two 20-something interiors that just aren't playing right now too. I think you got to take that into consideration.
You have McCoy and Ruiz. We're kind of on the fence about, and then we have nothing at left guard.
Correct.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but that can be fixed with a free agent signing. That's pretty easy with a guard.
We've tried that for the past 2 years. It has not happened.
So you're trading a left guard in the past.
We haven't?
No, Pete has been fine.
Pete didn't play left guard last year. He played tackle.
He started off at left guard, and we didn't have an issue. And then Hurst slid in and was fine.
I don't know.
I think
left guard hasn't been a hole. It hasn't been like this black hole that it is right now.
So you're
over the last couple of years.
And actually, he was graded fairly well when he was playing at left guard. Patrick was.
We needed to sign a free agent this year.
We did.
Patrick has done
this
okay.
year. We did, but we did.
We signed Patrick. He's more
Correct.
of a stop.
I agree with you on that.
Patrick's been fine.
He's been fine, but
there's nothing wrong with
if
Patrick.
we're trying to build for the future, which a lot of people are kind of agreeing that's where we're looking to go.
So bottom line, you pass on.
You're trading back.
You pass on
He's
the quarterback.
trading back.
I'm
trading back.
I'm maneuvering to get the top offensive lineman in the draft.
The top. So you're getting another tackle. So you're scrapping.
So you're done with Penning.
See, I would say the biggest thing.
Maybe
you can't take a guard that high. I'm telling you that right now.
You can't.
Yeah,
you're trading back. That's why I said
if you're trading back for a guard, you're going back to like the 20s.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah. So you might get like two first rounders out of it this year, next year.
You get more than that if you go all the way back to 20 from one, probably.
You get a lot.
And I'm all for that strategy.
And you still have options for like call it a holdover year or whatever, or a year to try to be competitive in what could become a weak division, because who knows what Cousins going to be.
I'm going to rephrase it because you're sticking to your guns, and I appreciate that. Which quarterbacks in this year's draft would you not pass up if it was next year's draft and we were the first pick? You'd pass all those guys up. You're passing up Jaden Daniels,
your boy?
Caleb.
Wait.
Oh, you're talking about this year.
So let's say the year draft we just had, those quarterbacks. And we're number one pick, and we get
I thought you were talking about going forward.
We're choosing we're choosing from the lot. Let's just assume last year's draft
class. You're saying
the
2024 draft.
Is the 2025 draft class.
I'm definitely taking
leaving
Jaden would in a redraft, Jaden would be one.
No. This is my question. If this draft class from 24 is the 25 draft class, you didn't get to see this season. Yeah. You don't know what happens.
Right.
The prospects version of Jaden, Caleb, May are all available. You're walking away from the podium at one with those type of dudes on the board. That's what I'm asking you.
Okay.
Not knowing what they've already done.
What we know now.
And we also would have to say that Rattler hypothetically has already been drafted.
Yes, correct.
He's already on our team.
So
you've seen what we've seen yesterday.
Rattler's not on the board because he's already on our team.
Correct.
The guys are prospect Caleb, prospect Jaden,
May, all of them, Penix, all of them.
I mean, okay, in that scenario, I would be going definitely Jaden if I was picking a QB. And then
you were high on Caleb too. That's why I'm asking, because I know you were high on both of them when we talked about it on the draft show. If one of those two is there and you're the 1 or 2 pick, are you still leaving that pick?
I still wasn't wild about like taking Caleb 1 overall. I wasn't saying that he's definitely like not going to be a good pro or whatever. But I was higher on. I think I was on record saying I would take Jaden over.
So
Caleb.
was I. Yeah, I think.
No, we all. Yeah.
To an extent, Drake may, but not as proven.
That was Max's guy.
I'm absolutely taking Drake May under that scenario he just posed.
I would say
I'd take all three of them.
I'm just trying to give you context of what you're walking away from the podium. So you know there's high-level quarterback talent. This isn't a bad year.
I don't think this QB year is as strong as the one that just came through.
Yet. yet. Because remember what happens once one of these guys catches fire and then goes to the playoffs and goes on a run. I mean, remember, Baker Mayfield flew up from the second round to the first pick.
Yeah.
This is the way the college football season is unfolding. You're going to see one of these guys, I promise you, is all of a sudden going to become a can't-miss top guy, just like Burrow did, just like Baker did.
The closer it gets to the draft, the higher the need for a quarterback becomes.
Correct.
Yeah.
But also because right now
I don't think there's a Caleb. I don't think there's this 4-year can't miss guy in this draft.
There's not.
I agree with you.
There's also not a Jay. I don't think there's a Jaden Daniels. I don't think Shadur Sanders is Jaden Daniels.
But this time last year, no one was saying he's can't miss.
Nobody was saying Jaden was a first-round pick at this point.
Right. That's fair.
This time last year, they weren't.
But I don't see it. I could be. Yeah, it could. Somebody could surface and prove me wrong.
But the point is, no one saw it last year at this point.
So throw that out. That's your draft class. Last year's draft class is what you're drafting. Are you walking away from the podium, going to get a guard, and taking more picks?
I mean, last year's draft class was different. It's just a different question. But
I'm just trying to gauge where your head's at on Rattler. That's all. So you said you would walk away from the first pick quarterback earlier in one of our. What was that, a preseason? Right before the season started.
Yeah, I think it was.
We're looking at next year. If we're already at the draft, this season's already happened. I think, you can make the argument that depending on which offensive tackle you pick, if you've got the right quarterback there or the right skill players around him, that is just as important as
it's
a building
not,
block.
No, the quarterback is it, man. I mean,
if you hit on it,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm in my gut. I'm still leaning pick an offensive lineman and roll with the potentially Evan Rattler, and
see if it was a left tackle.
See where the chips fall.
If it was a left tackle, I could see your logic a little bit more. But the fact that the black hole in our offensive line is left guard, you can fill that with somebody.
Yeah, and
I'm not even saying this means look what happened with Purdy and Lance. Okay. I just don't think you can pass up the opportunity to get someone if you believe that guy's there and he's a quarterback. And you've got Rattler a year in, assuming he doesn't somehow just light the league on fire.
It's tough to answer the question in this, like you said, because we haven't seen the full college season body of work of the top guys against what should be the top competition. As much as we want to say, imagine that it's Caleb or imagine that it's Jaden, it's just not there for me to be able to envision it enough to know for sure.
Well, let me say this. So on October,
you can ask me the question.
Today's the 14th.
At the end of the year.
Today's October 14th. So October 14th of 2023, the only two consensus top of the draft quarterbacks at that point were Caleb Williams and Drake May.
I think
there was no indication that Bo Nix was going to be the first round pick.
The best I can do at this point is say if
Penix,
if Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May are there, I don't think I could pass them up. That's
what I was. That's all I was wondering. Yeah. That's all I'm wondering.
But ask me the same question the week before the Heisman ceremony, and we'll have.
Because at that point it's going to change.
Yeah, that's
someone is going to show
if they
the
don't
necessary traits.
Then I might be in your corner.
We're still in the hypothetical zone.
I'm going to back Corey up on this. If one of our primary needs was a left tackle, like it was this past year, and we ended up with the top pick in the draft, looking at the board right now,
you're still trading down.
No, I would trade down a few picks, but I would actually do what he's talking about doing, which is solidify the offensive line, pick up a few more picks. I would actually be inclined at this point in the season to go with that plan if it were left tackle or right tackle. But looking at Fuaga, he looks like the answer at left tackle.
He does, yeah.
Penning, to his credit,
still 25 and
has played well.
And just like we need to see the rest of the season play
you called that better than Max and I. Okay?
You did. That was one of your hot takes. And look, far it's the one that looks like it's going to hit.
And also my bonus one, Bub, was that.
But here's another thing to remember: with Clint Kubiak in that system, the top offensive linemen, they're kind of devalued. As long as you have that one guy who's a stud. The Niners had Trent Williams.
Right, because
you got that one guy.
That's because they like to run the deep crossing stuff.
They're
they need that
no-name offensive lineman.
Right. So that's...
Yeah.
Since I think we have that guy in Fuaga,
Fuaga looks like, I think just like we need to see the whole season play out on the college quarterbacks now to be able to say for sure, would you go QB or try to solidify the rest of your team? I think we also need to see the rest of the season play out with Penning. it's still.
Oh, we do. Agree.
Max knows my stance on quarterbacks. Until you are certain you have them,
you
draft
keep
them.
them.
And
Yeah.
if you're in the top 3, draft one.
Yeah.
Because we just talked about 24 of the starters are first-round picks. Let's not forget that.
And I'm not saying that's a bad take. It's just that we have so many other needs that could be filled with quality guys.
Yeah, but here's the problem. No, the Saints will never trade down. They don't do it.
They won't.
No, they just don't do it.
You're right. They won't.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's pivot.
Even another defensive playmaker, because this defense is aging, and I think
offense needs. We need
a huge
offense,
reason why we've had the issues.
Yeah, but
we've had.
we covered this. We went so in depth on this on all the season preview pods and all of that, talking about how the talent on offense is not there.
But here's the thing: your defense is just like we said. The offensive line is paper thin. It's showing by the game now that this defense is aging. The safeties that are coming in after Matthew.
Yeah, but it's an offensive league. It's an offensive-driven league. To his point, the quarterback you have to have.
And I want to agree with Corey because that game was so bad, especially from a yard. We went from 14th to last in total. But that's a defense that held the other teams to 3 offensive touchdowns in 5 games. I don't want to overreact based on yardage because their game plan is to play.
They bend but don't break.
That's the whole game plan.
They got 44 points in this last one too. So
they did, and that was a terrible game. But I'm not going to throw them out. Let's talk about how important Pete must be. That's when things started to change. Covering backs. Look, we just had another busted coverage with a back. Both safeties out, Warner out. The tight end in the Eagles game. These are stuff that he helps out with. So.
Warner missing's big.
It's been huge.
Yeah.
The defense has looked way worse.
And look, I feel like a heretic even saying something bad about DeMario, but there were some plays yesterday where he usually makes.
Yeah, no, I know
in pursuit that he was a little bit short.
The last 2 games,
I hate it, but I
at some point that day is going to come for DeMario, just like
it's coming.
We didn't want to say it with Brees, but
we're seeing it with Cam as well.
Don't discount that he had a hamstring 2 weeks ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Because he was playing fine before.
I'm not.
No, that's a good point. But look, we saw Father Time has come for Cam.
We have to.
It came quick for Cam.
We have to account for that in the draft as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And
he's not going to play forever.
Offense is more pressing.
Sure. But that's fair.
Because look, you gotta make a decision one way or the other on Olave. Like if you're gonna move him, you got to move him this offseason.
And here's the beauty of
that's 4 concussions in 3 years for Olave. It's Ohio State, he had one his last year too.
Oh, did he?
So, that's a problem, dude.
So it's there's good news, bad news with all of these takes right now. Even if they're all different and we all disagree. The good news is
there's logic in all of them.
No. But the good news is we're allowed to all disagree on this. Mm-hmm. But the bad news is
the pod wouldn't be fun if we agreed.
The bad news is the only reason there's ability for disagreement in it because the whole team is so bad
because we suck.
Off. Yeah, the whole team's so bad off that literally anything you say about I think we need this. No, I think we need this. I think we need
everyone's
that.
right.
You're all right because we suck so bad.
I want to talk about why we're in that situation.
We kind of pivoted
because what I was trying to pivot to is, and I know some fans are on to this now, but at what point is the Loomis strategy gonna frustrate our fans as much as Derek Carr and Dennis Allen? We constantly throw away mid-round picks to move up. Mm-hmm. We package first-round picks to move up. All these things are fine if you nail the player and you have a deep roster, but the reason our roster looks like that is because we've thrown all those picks away. There is no debating that.
And we've made a few bad ones along the way.
And you can say Olave is great and Penning's improving, and yes, let's say we got 2. They're both – I'm willing to say Penning looks like a starter now. And Olave is an above mid receiver at a minimum, and with a potential ceiling. Yeah. With a ceiling of who knows if he could stay healthy and
great
and get more targets. Yeah. Which I think he was my pick to have the huge breakout.
I think he's been playing markedly improved this year.
So you nail those, but you gave up 6 picks to get there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So we had a first round that year, first round next year. We packaged 6 total picks to move around however we did and ended up with those 2 players.
Yeah.
That's
you have
4.
To hit. You have
that's
to be
4 players.
You have to be elite at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And those were all mid-round. Those weren't 7th-round picks.
You can stomach the misses a hell of a lot better if you have those 4 players.
I'm going to say this. When the rumors were floating around about Devontae Adams, in my head, I'm like, this is the ideal scenario because then you have a true number 1, a true alpha number 1, a future Hall of Famer, and Olave goes to his natural slot, and then Shaheed goes to his natural spot. Right. At that point, I'm like, God, that would be perfect.
But, it really
so
would
explain to me how he's cool giving up what he gave up to get Olave but not a second for Adams. I just need the logic.
I thought you were about to explain to me how Devontae Adams is cool.
No, he's awesome. I love Devontae Adams.
No, I don't. I'm glad that we didn't pull the trigger on Devontae now, given where we are and the prospects of this team, because this team looks
I agree
done.
with that.
And if they would have given up a second or a third, that is not good because he's not going to single-handedly turn this team
2
around.
weeks ago was different than today.
3 weeks ago, I guess, when the rumors started, and there were rumors that we called about him in the offseason or last year during the season. I think week 1 or 2, absolutely, you run there and you give them a second-round pick if they want it.
Yeah.
Now, no.
No,
Fuck
not
no.
now. No, we're 2-4.
Yeah,
I'm
fuck
just
no.
saying, where's the logic? Because we thought we had something to start the season, and then all the injuries set in, and we started playing wherever, whatever. We've lost 4 in a row. But we were 2-0, 2-1, I think is when the Adams stuff really started. It was 2-1. It was week 3. Either before that game or the week right after that game. I can't remember. But we're stubborn about that type of move. But we have no problem packaging 4 picks to go get a pick.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't think.
Well, given that they did a soft reset, or they're in the process of a soft reset of the salary cap last year and this year and probably next year, they didn't sign anybody to anything more than a 1-year contract. So all the people we signed this year.
I mean, you mean this season? I mean,
That's what I'm talking about, this
Cam's a
season.
death blow for the next couple of years.
No, I'm talking about this season. You could see them making an effort to do a soft reset, and it's not going to be a 1-year deal. Loomis even came out and said that in an interview. It's going to be a multiple season deal, and they're trying to stay competitive while they do this quote-unquote soft reset.
Yeah.
So with the logic of them doing that this offseason, it doesn't make any sense to go ahead and get Devontae Adams and then redo his contract and throw him another $30 or $45 million in guarantees.
Not considering.
Especially not now, but
No,
even then,
it doesn't
I think
make-
they were trying to get the Raiders to eat a portion of that on their cap.
Well, that's
think
also
I think
unfortunately we've lost
everybody-
because that's happening week to week.
Everybody
they're
is.
eating they're
Yeah.
eating $1 million of it a week, basically, or
Yeah.
close to it.
It's a bit of a game of chicken. It's like
A game of chicken,
It's going to
exactly.
keep getting closer to the middle, where it's like, all right, well, you don't have to eat more as you did, eat as much as you did last week. So can we talk again?
I'd also say if we won Thursday and Ruiz was back, and
I would think about it. I would have done it.
I
then.
would do it.
I would do it then.
I would still do it. I would take that chance because you're not getting a bad player. He's still probably a movable asset. Not if you pay him a bunch more money. He's not.
Well, put it this way: having a true 1-1A setup,
Olave should kill everything.
it makes looking to a different QB next year, or it makes that decision of picking a top QB a lot easier when you know he's coming into a better scenario. Now, that said,
But you're probably not in a position.
But if we get Devontae, then we're
yeah,
probably
you're-
going to be a lot more competitive, and we're
Right.
not going to be picking that guy.
This is strictly if we're seriously going to try and make a
Competitive,
playoff run.
yeah.
Right.
because we will, as we know, the Saints will always find a way to somehow get to 7 or 8 wins, even when we can never have the wheels completely fall off. We're always going to somehow rally and win 4 in a row
Yeah.
at some point in the season.
We did once, and we got Cedric Ellis.
Yeah, but even that, it was the 8th pick. You know what I mean?
8-0, I thought he was 6. My bad.
That's the thing. Even if we get a top 10 pick or top 5 pick, I don't.
We got Reggie Bush.
I don't trust our guys to hit
It
it.
took Katrina to do that.
It also took the Texans to take
Pass
Mario
on-
Williams.
yeah.
Well, they got an
You know.
all-pro out of it. They didn't bust.
I guess
it.
my point is, I feel very confident in saying that the Saints will somehow end up with a pick between.
Right now they're 8.
Right now they're 8, but I feel like we'll somehow
Yeah.
end up with a pick between
14.
like 10
Maybe
and 12.
a mid pick where
To where if you wanted to go get a quarterback,
Yeah.
you would have to give up way too much to go up. So it's
Right.
not
Don't
worth
go
it
up.
at that point. Yeah, no, don't go up. To where you're going to end up with a good player, but
yeah,
it's just annoying. If we're going to suck, just let the wheels fall off.
right. I mean, just mathematically eliminate yourselves early so we can kind of take a break.
And I'm not saying do it on purpose.
You know.
But right now they might not have a choice.
No,
man.
don't-
If you look at the
look,
injury
I
report,
will always say I'm never pro tanking. I think
Yeah,
tanking's the most chicken shit thing ever. Even if it does actually
If we
theoretically make your team better, it takes away the point of even being a team at all. Like, don't do that. But just I don't know.
In all honesty, 9-8 probably
Being-
gets you in the NFC this year.
Being mediocre
Probably.
sucks too. So,
If we
yeah.
lose
the NFC
Thursday,
sucks. And if you get hot, if you are 80% of what we were in week 1 or 2, and you got to the playoffs,
if you lose Thursday though, you need a 7-2 back end run. That's, I mean, you
Well,
got to
you got-
start saying you don't have a chance at 2.
well, hold on. What do you have? You have the Panthers again. You've
Falcons,
got
Bucks.
No. I'm thinking about like the really bad. The Raiders you got on there. Don't we have the Giants?
Chargers are in there.
Giants
Chargers
aren't
have a
that
good
bad.
defense though, man.
That defensive line may
Giants
destroy
defenses,
us.
yeah.
The Giants and
Chargers defensive line might destroy
and
us.
it's in New York.
The Chargers are going to win. That defense is nasty.
New York Giants lead the league in sacks, dude. They're killing everybody.
You go Chargers, Panthers, Falcons, Browns, bye.
Browns, that's nice.
Then Rams at home.
That's nice, too.
You know what game is going to knock you out of the playoffs no matter what? The Commanders.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That defense yesterday, the Commanders would have put up 800 yards on us yesterday.
We've already talked about this. You have to go 4-2 in division to win so you've already got to beat Bucs, Tampa, and Carolina. Carolina, obviously.
And the Packers.
And they got to lose.
Going to Lambeau.
Well, I'm just saying, if you go
division.
If you go 4-2 in the division, generally you're going to be at the top of your division. Generally. So last year we tied. We were 4-2. They were 4-2. We were both 9-8.
So we're 1-2 right now.
1-2.
So
that's
a
problem.
Yeah. So if we need a 7-2 back end run, you can't lose. Like you said, you can't lose another division game because you have to bank the Packers and Commanders as losses. Your Commanders are going to just run up and down the field on us.
Running quarterback's going to get better. Running
and you're playing the Packers in Lambeau on December 23rd.
Right.
So you're going to, be snowed in.
So that's why to me, the season ended this weekend as far as playoffs.
No, the death blow is coming Thursday.
The death blow is Thursday, no doubt. If we lose that one, it's absolutely, there's no question. I think it's over.
I hated when Max proposed it in the season. We're still trying to figure out what episode that was in when you did it, but
I told you, like I said,
I hate
the scenario is in play.
It's in play.
That Thursday night game is.
The crappy part is we won games we didn't think we'd win. We looked great, and then the whole team got injured. That's the crappy part. Because it does not look the way Max thought it was going to look.
No, it doesn't.
Or me, or you.
Nope.
It looked completely different.
And it never does.
Right.
Dude, after week 2, I was like, man, I look like the ass. I'm like, Corey's going to nail his record prediction.
I was pretty like,
yeah. And now I'm like, no, I feel great about 7. I think we get to 7.
You did say in the season preview, because I re-listened to it, you're like, 7. He's like, you said I could even see 6 if things go a certain way. And
that's
in play too.
Is in play.
So
why don't we go over last week's picks and kind of see where we're at on that?
All right.
I think our dumbasses.
I was going to say you seemed though that you had some thoughts on.
Well, let me say this
on DA.
Let me go back to your original question when we started the pod. We weren't recording video at this point, and you were talking about Corey and I picking the Saints, and that we were optimistic on last week's preview pod. The reason for that was we got all the way to Friday. It was Friday morning. I can't think logically when we get to the weekend and we're talking about the Saints.
It's too close.
It's just too close, and I'm like, no, he's going to do what Aaron Brooks did. He's going to go in. We're going to roll.
He said that, yeah.
And look, he was on his way to it.
He was
on his way.
Yeah.
The team was on its way, not just him. The team was on his way. Everything was happening that I said needed to happen.
Yeah.
And then the wheels fell off in the fourth quarter.
And look, I'm not trying to.
That's my defense for the pick.
Extend this episode any longer than it has. But you said you had some thoughts. You've mentioned that we've repinned the fire Dennis Allen shirts to our Twitter profile. So I haven't heard any direct commentary on our beloved head coach yet.
I am back. I'm back on fire DA.
Okay.
I gave him look.
Was it something in particular this week? Because. We've been trying to hold back on, we've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but obviously that's no longer.
Yeah, and look,
there.
we gave him his chance.
Yeah.
But the thing is, dumb shit is happening week after week. Shaheed fielding a ball, a punt inside the 10. Adebo and his comedy of errors. Mm-hmm. Jordan Howden running into another teammate to give up a big play at the end of the game to effectively lose you the game.
Shaheed again this game.
Now let me ask you this.
Illegal motion was all Shaheed laziness.
Well, hold on.
Not too long ago, we did say the coach didn't tell Shaheed to field it inside the 5.
Right, but at some point, you have to hold these guys accountable,
and
it's not happening because the same shit is happening.
There's enough signs.
Week, and it's not – there's been repeat – offenders,
sure,
but there's always someone new who steps up. Jamal Williams last week catches the ball, takes a step out,
that was horrible.
Hesitates. What are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
Like
it just doesn't seem like there's a cohesive.
Shaheed fielded another ball or tried to inside the 10, and they got the re-kick because of it.
Worse, see, I'm always more of a player is to blame for mental mistakes than a coach. I do believe you have to enact some sort of discipline and practice and things. 100%, I agree. But when it's game day and you're a professional, if you're lining up offsides, you're catching punts on the 2, that's a player. That is coached their whole lives.
Yeah.
Him not getting set on that, and you go watch it in the replay on the Juwan 35-yard.
Yeah.
We're in field goal range there, by the way. Changes everything.
Yeah.
And he looks over at looks over at Rattler, and he's still moving, and then he like jumps forward a little to get set. It's like, why weren't you set? You can say Rattler went early. He didn't. It was all Shaheed.
And that happened last week.
Well, here's my
Was it Shaheed or Olave? I think it was Olave last week.
I think you can 100% find certain isolated examples that will, no matter what the coach, you could be like Vince Lombardi or Bill Belichick.
Loomis did compare.
Chuck Noll. You could be
Noll,
Chuck Noll, a.k.a. Dennis Allen. And it'll still be on the player. There are certainly those examples. But I think to Max's point, there's at the end of the day, there's certain things that show, that make the saying, you play how you practice, a thing. And I think, what is going on in practice to where, like, has Shaheed never done that in practice? And he just did that in the game? And then if he has done that in practice, was he corrected? Or did they say, we'll let it go as practice?
Maybe, but you
but
benching Shaheed?
How often is shit like
You
that?
benching him?
No.
I know,
But
because we don't have options.
You can't. Or like the players in pursuit. Like we talked about the Godwin touchdown. And, so like there's one time you talk about a player like Willie Gay. There was one play where he hit his sack. He made a very good decision as a linebacker. He
That was
diagnosed
smart.
the fact that the tight end was blocking, not coming out. He ran, killed the guy. Then when Godwin gets the ball, Willie Gay's on the dude's outside shoulder.
Yeah.
And you're not catching up with that. Like, you over-pursued. You were out of position. You're a professional. You made that mistake. But again, how many times has that – because we threw it to the side.
I'd also like if he wasn't on Godwin. That would have been helpful.
Well, we were in a zone on that. We had this mix of
Alante could have
zone
cracked him and it'd been a
man
6-yard
match,
game.
But it's like all of these things. Like I didn't even think there were bad tackles or missed tackles, but what are we doing? I guess you can't tackle to the ground in practice, but they just looked out of position. And so to Max's point, like it's one thing when we had a couple games with a couple of individual mistakes, but when it keeps showing up,
it's a trend.
The team as a whole doesn't look disciplined.
Yeah. And more important than that, I'm sick of the press conferences where he has this glazed over deer in the headlights look and says the same shit.
He knows he has nothing
else. Oh, it's
else.
on me. We've got to get that corrected. We're still trying hard. We're still sawing wood.
But hold
we're gonna
up
get this corrected.
while I just say our tackling was atrocious, because I'm going to say it. He said it's on me. He took he's like,
yeah, but you can only say
he
that
said
so many
blanket,
times when it doesn't change.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's one thing if you just say blank's on me, and then you say our tackle is atrocious.
I don't know. Are you even allowed to tackle in practice anymore?
Probably not.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's actually rules against it. So that's something.
I'll just to your point. Like I'm here. I'm back.
Get that?
But
yeah.
Look, we're all in agreement.
It's gonna be loud after Thursday, I think.
Yeah, and look,
it's been loud for a year and a half. We all agreed, and I was last to come to firing him because I feel like if you're going to hire a coach, 2 years is a minimum. You should bring him around. But
yeah,
we all thought he should go in the offseason. I just wish he would go with Loomis because it's time for a reset.
Yes.
This has been a 20.
Yes.
This has been
Loomis.
a 25-year run for Loomis.
Should we add in handwriting and Loomis to our shirts?
It's just time. You need to change leadership every once in a while.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, how many CEOs have been in the same CEO spot for 25 years? Only the guys who created their own companies. That just go look at sports franchises around the world. Look how they, in the Premier League. Look at, NBA. There just aren't coaches that are there 25 years anymore. You need a new message. Same with the GMs. These things have to be changed every once in a while to move things forward.
Yeah.
It's stale. There's no doubt about it.
You don't like the message being delivered while smacking gum? You're looking coked out of your mind?
That just makes it worse. But
I think
he hasn't done a good job. Let's be honest.
No, he's been terrible.
Mickey hasn't looked that way publicly since that. I think he went home, got a talking to.
It's just time to
Went to
change
a
it.
It's time. It's time. It's just time for
We
a
had a
change.
great era. We had with Loomis coming in first, then Peyton and Brees at the same time, and you had a really good run.
Yeah.
And we tried to keep it going for a few years. I totally get that. I was in support of it. But now it's done.
Loomis came in with Mueller.
Yeah.
And
he got the
Mueller
GM spot.
After Mueller got
right.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
Mueller is back.
Full circle.
Which is going to be funny when Mueller steps up.
Jesus.
It's convenient. You can say Peyton too, but it's convenient. His only successful years were with Brees and Peyton, right? Before, we were terrible.
Yeah.
After, we've been terrible. Not terrible. We've been mediocre. He doesn't move the needle, and I just think if you're going to change things, let's shake it all up. Let's start from scratch. Let's get a GM. Let him go find his coach,
Yeah.
Then pick out his game plan. I think you have to reboot it all if you're going to reboot.
You also just wonder, like...
But they won't do that. There's no way.
At what point, if you're Mickey, what point are you not getting tired of this shit?
Or just getting roasted all the time.
He's trying so
he doesn't
hard.
Give a shit.
If they love him that much, move him up.
That's what will happen.
Get him out of there. Get a new, fresh GM
just
in.
Let Kai really do the job, or somebody.
If it's Kai, if it's Ireland, I don't care who it is. Just someone different. And
I have no loyalties to anybody in that office. Get somebody who's going to do the job.
Yeah.
Look, he brought Brees here. Maybe it was lucky, maybe not. He brought Payton here when he was a borderline. That was more of an achievement than Brees to me because Brees didn't actually pick here. But he got Payton. Maybe a lot of people thought that was a bad hire. That was his hire. Brees, he did lock it up when the Dolphins dropped the ball. I give him all the credit in the world. I appreciate the run, but it's time for a new leader. It just is.
Yep, agree. All right, why don't we go over to picks and kind of see where we're at?
Okay, picks. Y'all both had the Saints, Max by 7, Corey by 4. I had the Bucs in a much lower scoring game, 19-16. Max and I had Kamara. Corey had Rattler. Y'all both had Lattimore. I had Young.
It's not Young.
It's definitely not Young.
It's not Rattler.
It's definitely not Rattler. We can scratch those off.
So Max and I, we'll just do this on the air now. Max and I thought, who has to break the tie? Nick?
Yes.
I think Bub Memes had the best. If you're going to give an offensive MVP, I'm going to go with Bub Memes.
He had a good drive.
He made the plays that needed to be made when they needed to be made.
He made 2 really great plays. AK was a much bigger focus. How many touches did he get? 16?
Yeah, and look, AK had a touchdown.
And he had a touchdown. They both had one touchdown. They both
gutting it out because he's got a cracked rib. He's got something wrong with his hand. I don't know.
I'm kind of, we were talking about this before we got on air, is that do we have to pick someone? Because we've gone weeks without picking someone.
Why don't we just say we don't have to pick someone?
I think they don't pick anybody this week.
That's fair.
I'm fine with across the board.
I wanted to see Nick break the tie.
No, I don't think no one deserves it.
Okay.
No one deserves it.
Hey, also, I was texting about Bub. I do agree with Max in that, AK's seriously toughing it out right now. I have to give him a lot of credit for that. He's hurt. There's no doubt. Bub coming out of nowhere is huge to me. That could change things in the future.
Looking good running routes.
Yeah, it wasn't some spectacular game, but 5 for 45 with a touchdown.
And there's chemistry with him and Rattler from the
I'd much rather see
team.
A solid, consistent game like that than see like the one bomb caught and the 2 over
if he
the
does
middle,
that, if he comes back in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we see 3 or 4 of those games. I'm gonna give him a retroactive MVP for this game.
Okay, good.
But no one picked him, so it doesn't matter.
Right, but there was really no MVP on offense,
there was nobody.
and there was really no MVP.
Let's say, what about defense?
There wasn't.
Yeah.
I think there just wasn't. There was no spectacular performance. Abram had a pick. He missed a couple tackles. Adebo, a great pick again, undercutting that route, tricking Baker. But again, was getting worked.
So where are we at now?
We're just going to leave it none and none.
No, I know, but points-wise.
Okay. Points, I get 1 just for the Bucs. That puts it to 7. Max is still on 3, and Corey's still on 2.
So throwing up the deuces. Heading into week 7, holding up the deuce.
What a god-awful
Eric texted to my
weekend
the text with him and Casey, and he said, I think Corey's been 0-6 on picks so far. It's like,
have you really?
I got Carolina.
Okay, all right. No, I didn't think you were 0-6.
I did not pick us to lose that. Right?
You haven't won since you've been wearing this pullover inside.
I have
this
to wear this for
office.
Eric now. He criticized the quarter zip. Oh, nice quarter zip, man. Like, this is for you, Eric.
You're rubbing it in his face.
Get in the Discord.
Actually,
also
Eric,
buy Corey a
Casey,
shirt.
Everybody watching this.
No. Casey
Patreon,
and Eric.
Patreon.com/28to3 podcast. Y'all jump in. It's fun. More stuff coming.
Yeah. I'm good on this one. I think we can go ahead and bury this god-awful game.
Yeah. The shirts are back up. Shop.28to3podcast.com. Like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. If you've gotten this far and you haven't liked and subscribed yet, I don't know what you're doing. But, Dan, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, do it. I don't have anything else.
Nope. I'm good. You got anything else?
No. I think I've exhausted everything. I
think with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. Who dat?
What a comeback!